There are still places in this world where human footsteps have rarely, if ever, touched, where time no longer follows the rules we know. In distant villages hidden from view, only the wind and moss remain, clinging to crumbling rooftops, slowly reclaimed by nature. Along deserted coastlines, broken shipwrecks lie abandoned, as if someone left in haste, leaving behind an untold story. Deep beneath the earth, cold and winding caves stretch into darkness, opening the way to a realm untouched by light. These fragments are not random. They awaken a primal curiosity, a sense that something was deliberately hidden from the eyes of the world. Skeleton Coast is a long stretch of coastline in northwestern Namibia, located in a dry desert zone completely isolated from main transport networks, and accessible only by specialized off-road vehicles or small aircraft. The landscape is unusual, with wide white sand beaches meeting a cold ocean and thick fog caused by the clash between sea and desert air. For centuries, the area has been known as a ship graveyard, where hundreds of vessels sank due to strong currents and low visibility, leaving rusted wrecks scattered across the sand. One recorded case in 1942 involved the crew of a British ship who had to walk miles through harsh desert terrain, with most not surviving. Besides shipwrecks, many skeletal remains of elephants, whales, and seals are also found in the area, creating a scene that is both dry and haunting. The combination of harsh climate, isolation, and shipwreck relics makes Skeleton Coast one of the most mysterious coastal regions in the world. Wetland Park in Yangzhou is a large natural reserve that stands out for its diverse wetland ecosystem and significant ecological value. This park was created from the idea of preserving natural wetlands and has become an important site for maintaining biodiversity for decades. Its landscape is shaped by a network of canals, lakes, and reed fields, mixed with open grasslands that create a vibrant ecosystem. Visitors can enjoy boating through narrow, winding channels between reeds as tall as 6 feet, watching rare birds flying over the lake and experiencing a rare fresh atmosphere. An interesting detail is that in autumn, many areas of the park turn brilliant when the reeds turn yellow, creating a striking scene among the calm waters. More than 1,200 cone-shaped hills rise from an isolated limestone region in central Philippines, covering about 20 square miles with nearly uniform spacing and height. Core samples have confirmed that the base rock was once a marine floor filled with fossilized corals, but the repeated formation of identical slopes across all hills remains unexplained. During the dry season, grass covering the hills turns dark brown almost simultaneously, creating a large-scale surface transformation that biology has yet to fully explain. Strict regulations prohibit construction and limit movement to predefined paths in order to preserve the area's natural structure. Ground-penetrating radar has recently detected unmapped cavities beneath the hills, possibly linked to unknown subsurface processes. This geometric repetition, synchronized color change, and lack of underground data make Chocolate Hills one of the most debated landforms in Southeast Asia. Khandovan is located in the volcanic mountain region of northwestern Iran, where cone-shaped rock formations were created by ancient eruptions thousands of years ago. Local residents carved into the soft rock to build homes, storage areas, and animal shelters, with continuous habitation traced back to the 13th century. It remains one of the few rock settlements in the world where people still live regularly instead of being converted entirely into tourist or museum zones. Tourist access is limited to specific viewing paths, and active rock homes are not open to visitors. Many inhabited units have not been scientifically studied, leading to gaps in understanding about interior changes and cultural shifts over time. There is still no clear conclusion on why this location was originally chosen for permanent settlement, despite its harsh weather conditions, prompting continued academic debate. Ellora Caves is located on a semi-mountainous region in west-central India, carved deep into basalt cliffs that form an isolated space hard to observe from a distance. The complex includes dozens of rock-cut caves, with the most striking feature being a monolithic temple carved top-down without signs of assembly or separate materials. Archaeologists estimate that millions of tons of rock were removed, but no blueprints, advanced tools, or construction records have been found. Although the site is now open to tourists, some areas remain restricted to protect the original structure from physical damage. Many symbolic carvings inside the caves remain undecoded, lacking reliable historical references for comparison. The precise construction techniques and absence of guiding documentation have made Ellora a central topic in debates about ancient engineering. Dargavs is set within a narrow valley in the Caucasus Mountains, where dense fog and winding mountain roads make access difficult year-round, especially during snowfall. On the rocky slopes stand over 90 pointed-roof stone tombs built in the 14th century, each designed to hold intact human bodies inside sealed family vaults. What puzzles archaeologists is that many of the bodies were placed in wooden boats, even though there are no rivers or lakes in the area that could justify their use. No written documents from the time of construction remain, and no formal excavation has been done to determine how many bodies lie inside or what internal layouts exist. All entrances remain untouched, and visitors are not allowed inside due to visible cracks in the stone that suggest structural instability. Some tomb clusters face different directions and have varying shapes, leading to debates about social ranking or shifts in burial customs across generations. Haotauan is located on an eastern coastal island of China, surrounded by steep hills and dense forest, making vehicle access difficult and dependent on weather. In the 1980s, hundreds of fishing families lived here, but by the 1990s, residents began leaving due to the lack of education, healthcare, and stable transport to the mainland. Within a few years, the entire village was abandoned and slowly covered by vines, moss, and wild plants that overtook nearly all remaining houses and buildings. Today, there are no permanent residents, and visitors can only enter during limited hours under geological safety and road access regulations. So far, no scientific report has fully evaluated the structural decay or the potential for restoring the site for long-term use. The unusually fast abandonment and complete natural overgrowth have made Haotauan a rare case that existing records cannot fully explain. Shrouded is located in a remote plain in southwestern France, with no major highways nearby and surrounded by forests and wide fields that make it completely isolated. On June 10, 1944, a unit of the German military entered the village and killed nearly all residents, including women and children, in just a few hours, without any confirmed military reason. After the war, the French government decided not to rebuild the site, but to preserve its ruins exactly as they were, turning it into a war memorial that remains untouched. Although visitors are allowed, most areas are restricted due to collapse risks and strict conservation rules. To this day, many records related to the event are missing or still classified, preventing historians from fully understanding the motives or sequence of actions. The combination of preserved ruins and lack of confirmed data has made Shrouded one of the most debated historical sites in Europe. Lake Kaindi is an isolated mountain lake in Kazakhstan at an elevation of over 6,562 feet, and it can only be reached by rough dirt roads and special vehicles. The lake was formed after an earthquake in 1911 when a mountain slope collapsed and blocked the water flow, creating a natural basin. Dozens of pine trees submerged in the lake for more than 100 years still remain intact and have not decayed. The tops of the trees rise above the surface, creating the appearance of a forest underwater. The water is so clear that the full length of the sunken trees can be seen from above, which continues to attract scientific interest. At certain times of the year, sunlight creates unusual colored reflections on the surface that remain unexplained. The three crater lakes atop Mount Kelimutu are famous for their unpredictable color changes, ranging from blue, green, and red to black, without a fixed pattern and with no synchronicity between them, despite being only yards apart. Scientists believe the phenomenon may be linked to mineral oxidation and volcanic gas activity, but no model has been able to accurately forecast when shifts will occur. A 2013 study recorded irregular temperature and pressure fluctuations from sensors placed on the lake beds, yet the readings were insufficient to explain the color divergence. Colonial-era folklore refers to episodes of bubbling lake surfaces without wind, though modern research has yet to validate such accounts. Since 2015, sections along the lake rims have been closed off due to sudden fissures and landslides, posing risks to both tourists and field teams. The extreme conditions untraceable transformation mechanisms, and restricted access continue to make Kelimutu one of Southeast Asia's most enigmatic volcanic lake systems. The Blue Grotto is a flooded sea cave famed for its vivid blue glow, produced by sunlight refracting through an underwater opening beneath the surface. This optical effect only occurs under very specific conditions involving tide level, time of day, and water clarity, making it impossible to reproduce consistently. Ancient Roman records suggest that Emperor Tiberius used the grotto for secret ceremonies, and submerged stone structures resembling altars still remain, but are off-limits to preserve the fragile limestone. In 1970, an Italian archaeological team attempted sonar mapping, but the results were heavily distorted and ultimately inconclusive, with no official explanation given. Although open to tourists today, all entry is suspended during high tide or rough seas, and diving is strictly prohibited in deeper waters. The Blue Grotto continues to blur the line between geological spectacle and unverified legend. Crooked Forest is an isolated woodland in northwestern Poland, where hundreds of pine trees grow with unusual curves at the base, all bending in the same direction. These trees are believed to have been planted in the early 1930s, but no confirmed explanation exists for this consistent growth pattern. The area is not under strict protection, so access is generally open, allowing independent surveys without official oversight. Various hypotheses have been proposed, such as early mechanical manipulation, climatic influence, or genetic mutation, but none have been confirmed by scientific evidence. Ongoing interest from scientists and the public highlights its special research value in the study of plant morphology and ecological anomalies. Yakushima is an isolated forest located on a volcanic island in southern Japan, with a subtropical rainforest ecosystem separated clearly from the mainland. The area was formed by ancient volcanic activity and is home to Japanese cedar trees that are thousands of years old. Most of the forest lies within a strictly protected reserve, with only a few limited routes allowed for access to minimize the impact of tourism and unsustainable research. Some parts of the forest have never been fully surveyed, leaving major gaps in biological data related to microorganisms and soil nutrient cycles. Ancient cedar trees like Jomonsugi are not only notable for their age, but also show unusual biological structures that scientists have yet to fully explain. The long-term isolated existence of plant life here has raised important questions about independent evolutionary processes in closed environments. Angel Falls is located in an ancient rock plateau of Venezuela, surrounded by dense jungle and steep terrain, with no direct road access and reachable only by small aircraft, motorboat, and hiking. The waterfall is nearly 3,200 feet tall, with water dropping from a cliff top but mostly evaporating mid-air due to the extreme height and low-level wind, forming a persistent mist with no typical echo sound. This disappearance of water in the air has drawn scientific interest for its unusual aerodynamic effects. The falls were first recorded in 1933 by an American pilot during an emergency landing, though local inhabitants had known and avoided the area long before, without clear reasons. In 2009, geological radar surveys detected an abnormal signal void behind the cliff face, suggesting the possibility of an inaccessible stone cavern. Ultrasonic data also showed irregular echo responses, leading to theories of hollow formations never before identified in ancient rock structures. Fiordland sits in southwestern New Zealand, isolated by sheer rock ridges and fjords that cut deep inland, making ordinary road or air access nearly impossible. The terrain took shape when late Ice Age glaciers retreated and the crust rose slowly, leaving cliffs roughly 1,000 feet high and fjord floors that plunge even deeper. Most core zones are policed by the Conservation Authority, allowing only hull-reinforced vessels and specialist teams to enter the narrow, windswept channels. Sonar campaigns have shown that depths of several central basins shift by about 100 feet between surveys, hinting at mobile sediment or unseen tectonic motion. Recently, autonomous seismometers recorded low-frequency pulses from an unmapped underwater valley, fueling debate over hidden hydrodynamic caverns beneath the fjord floor. Mojo caves were built along the edge of the Gobi Desert, where the hot and dry climate and remote location helped preserve hundreds of stone caves for over 1,000 years. From the 4th to the 14th century, more than 700 caves were carved into rock walls to store scriptures and display daily life scenes through statues and murals, forming one of the largest religious art systems in ancient Asia. In 1900, a sealed cave was discovered containing over 5,000 ancient texts and scriptures, but the reason for storing such a large collection remains unclear. A large number of original documents were taken abroad in the early 20th century, leading to ongoing debates about ownership and the legality of their removal. Pamukkale is famed for its white travertine terraces and layered thermal pools formed by calcium carbonate-rich hot springs flowing over millennia. Yet some central terraces have temporarily shifted to pale yellow or gray tones without measurable changes in water composition, a phenomenon still lacking a scientific explanation. A 1999 geothermal study recorded irregular flow rates and temperatures across individual pools occurring in non-repeating cycles and suggesting an unknown subterranean drainage system. Nighttime satellite imagery once captured anomalous heat signatures along the eastern slope in an area without visible surface water, but no formal geological surveys have been permitted there. Sections of the formation have been sealed off since 2005 due to expanding fissures and progressive subsidence in the limestone base. Although a popular tourist attraction, much of Pamukkale's geothermal network remains uncharted and unexplored. Sossusvlei is a salt and clay pan surrounded by some of the world's tallest sand dunes in the Namib Desert, considered one of the oldest ecosystems on Earth. Its massive dunes move at an extremely slow rate, remaining nearly unchanged for millennia, a rare geomorphological phenomenon of exceptional stability. Climatologists have yet to fully explain how these dune structures maintain their form despite constant strong winds and extreme daily temperature shifts. Nearby Deadvlei contains tree remains, estimated to be over 900 years old, that have not decayed, preserved by the area's hyper-arid and microbially inactive conditions. Due to the ecosystem's fragility, certain access routes to the core zone have been permanently closed since 2013 to prevent topographic disruption. Sossusvlei remains a strictly protected desert zone, with many of its physical properties excluded from standard desert system models. Located on the ancient imperial axis of Beijing, where ritual authority met national strategy, the Forbidden City was once the most sealed seat of power in Chinese history. Surrounded by towering walls, deep moats, and triple-layered gate control, it functioned not only as an imperial palace, but as a forbidden zone to civilians for over 500 years. With over 8,700 chambers, hierarchy-coded corridors, and unrevealed underground passages, its architecture imposed absolute spatial and social control. In 1923, a mysterious fire destroyed over 100 halls in the western inner court. Shortly after, rumors surfaced about eunuchs hiding gold and classified documents inside the walls. Yet the official investigation was abruptly suspended. Several sectors remain completely off-limits, with no public documentation or imagery, raising questions about the site's undisclosed purposes. Today, while partially open to tourists, over 60% of its grounds remain restricted, preserving a half-visible, half-obscured atmosphere that continues to provoke unease and speculation. Socotra is often referred to as the alien island due to nearly 40% of its species being found nowhere else on Earth, with bizarre vegetation like the dragon blood tree, Dracena cinnaburi, known for its inverted umbrella canopy and red sap. The Yemeni government has strictly limited research activities since the 1990s after foreign scientific teams were caught removing samples without publishing their findings. The island contains deep limestone caves and rugged terrain, with many zones still unmapped due to sudden weather shifts and extreme inaccessibility. Some reports have documented temporary discoloration of seawater in certain coastal inlets, though satellite imaging has not provided conclusive evidence. In 2018, after a major cyclone, a highland area around 1,600 feet above sea level revealed what appeared to be foundation-like stone patterns. But all surveys were halted under the premise of environmental protection. The island's extreme isolation, endemic biology, and controlled access have made Socotra a sealed research zone that continues to stir curiosity and speculation. Sondung is one of the largest cave systems ever discovered, but much of its interior remains unexplored due to complex terrain, high air pressure, and unstable humidity levels that disrupt measurement equipment. In a 2019 deep exploration, divers identified a submerged tunnel connecting Sondung to a deeper cave, but the mission was halted after signal loss and a sudden pressure spike at a depth of around 300 feet. Remarkably, the cave sustains a self-contained ecosystem with underground rivers and a primeval jungle, raising questions about energy sources and biological chains operating without sunlight. Local authorities and international organizations strictly limit access, with only a few hundred permits issued per year. At least 3 geological fissures inside the cave remain untouched due to collapse risks and unidentified toxic gases. Much of the underground topography remains classified, making Sundung not just a natural wonder, but also an incomplete zone of scientific data. The Waitomo cave system is renowned for its surreal glow created by Arachnocampa luminosa larvae, producing an underground, starry sky that draws thousands of visitors. This light, however, is not just aesthetic, but part of a predatory mechanism, with larvae emitting sticky threads and attracting prey using a unique bioluminescent spectrum. Researchers have noted inconsistent glow intensities between cave sections, even under identical humidity and temperature, raising questions about localized magnetic influence or mineral presence in the limestone. In 2001, a team recorded a mass blackout of glowworms lasting over 6 hours in an area previously known for high luminosity, a phenomenon that remains unexplained. While much of the cave is open for tourism, several side chambers and deep pockets remain off-limits to preserve the cave's delicate biological equilibrium. Unresolved elements of the cave's bioluminescent behavior continue to make it a subject of ongoing scientific inquiry. Hidden deep within the Yucatan jungle, Chichen Itza was once the ceremonial and astronomical center of the ancient Maya civilization, where stone structures were aligned with extreme precision to celestial movements. The El Castillo Pyramid creates a visual illusion of a serpent descending the staircase during the spring and autumn equinoxes, a phenomenon that continues to puzzle researchers regarding ancient astronomical accuracy. Beneath the site lies an extensive network of caves and subterranean water systems, many of which remain unexplored, leading to theories about sacrificial rituals or hidden sacred chambers. In a 1960 excavation, archaeologists uncovered large amounts of human remains in the Cenote Sagrado, including children and warriors, though the full context and scale of these rituals remain unclear. Despite being a recognized UNESCO World Heritage Site, numerous underground sectors and passageways remain sealed without public explanation and continue to exist on the edge between archaeology and legend. Teotihuacan was once one of the largest cities in the ancient world, with a population that may have reached hundreds of thousands around the year 300 AD, but the identity of the civilization that built it is still unknown. Structures like the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon are aligned with key astronomical points, showing advanced cosmic observation skills. A tunnel discovered beneath the Feathered Serpent Pyramid contained thousands of artifacts made of gold, gemstones, and liquid mercury, a rare and toxic substance linked to rituals about the underworld. Also, layers of mica, a mineral not found locally, were found in some underground structures, suggesting long-distance material trade and unexplained technology. The city was built using volcanic rock and arranged in an astronomically accurate layout, forming a spatial design far ahead of its time. Despite its large scale and complex organization, no written records have been found. Easter Island is located in the Pacific Ocean about 2,300 miles from mainland Chile, making it one of the most isolated inhabited islands in the world. It is known for more than 800 moai statues built by the ancient Rapa Nui people around the 12th century, despite their lack of metal tools or modern machinery. The methods used to move and raise the statues are still debated, with theories including rope-dragging wooden sleds or rocking them upright. No written records from that period survive, which limits scientific verification of these techniques. The Chilean government now limits tourist numbers and strictly controls length of stay to protect cultural heritage and prevent ecological damage. The permanent pink color of Lake Hillier remains unchanged even when its water is removed, prompting multiple unresolved theories involving microbial activity and mineral interaction. Microbial analysis has identified halophilic bacteria and Donaliella salina algae, yet no scientific model has fully explained why the hue stays stable under all light and temperature conditions. Access to Lake Hillier today is limited to aerial viewing or specially approved boat tours, with direct water level research remaining restricted. Despite being one of the world's most unusual lakes, none of the other pink lakes have matched the consistency of color found at Hillier. Aldabra is one of the largest coral atolls in the world, entirely uninhabited and under strict protection by the Seychelles Islands Foundation, with tight controls over every vessel and piece of equipment permitted to enter. Its ecosystem has remained virtually untouched by humans for centuries, allowing unique species to thrive, including the world's largest population of Aldabra giant tortoises. Some plant species on the island exhibit inverted growth cycles that do not follow normal light patterns, a phenomenon still lacking a full scientific explanation. In the 1980s, several research instruments reportedly malfunctioned while surveying the atoll's central zone, prompting theories about unusual magnetic or geobiological anomalies. With no airstrip and lying off major maritime routes, access is limited to scheduled research vessels with special clearance. significant gaps remain in data concerning subsurface microbial activity and groundwater movement, keeping Aldabra beyond the reach of mainstream scientific exploration. Lechuguilla is one of the most bizarre and restricted cave systems in the United States, located deep beneath the New Mexico desert and accessible only to specially authorized researchers. Stretching over 150 miles and descending nearly 1,600 feet, it contains rare formations like gypsum chandeliers, sulfur crystals, and toxic gas chambers, making exploration extremely hazardous. Sensor equipment has recorded abnormal air pressure shifts in the deeper sections, suggesting a sealed aerodynamic system operating on unknown cycles. In 1993, an expedition was aborted after discovering a chamber with rapid oxygen loss and unusual skin reactions caused by microbial coatings on the walls. Some microbial strains found inside show high antibiotic resistance, despite having no contact with the external biosphere, placing the cave under tight biological containment protocols. To this day, the full map of the cave remains incomplete, with many passageways sealed off to preserve unidentified biological structures. The Waitomo cave system is renowned for its surreal glow created by Arachnocampa luminosa larvae, producing an underground, starry sky that draws thousands of visitors. This light, however, is not just aesthetic, but part of a predatory mechanism, with larvae emitting sticky threads and attracting prey using a unique bioluminescent spectrum. Researchers have noted inconsistent glow intensities between cave sections, even under identical humidity and temperature, raising questions about localized magnetic influence or mineral presence in the limestone. In 2001, a team recorded a mass blackout of glowworms lasting over 6 hours in an area previously known for high luminosity, a phenomenon that remains unexplained. While much of the cave is open for tourism, several side chambers and deep pockets remain off-limits to preserve the cave's delicate biological equilibrium. Unresolved elements of the cave's bioluminescent behavior continue to make it a subject of ongoing scientific inquiry. Nika Crystal Cave contains the largest natural gypsum crystals ever discovered, with some formations exceeding 36 feet in length and weighing several tons, formed under extreme heat and humidity deep beneath the Nika mine. Temperatures often exceed 113 degrees Fahrenheit, with humidity levels near 100%, making direct entry impossible without specialized protective gear and strict time limits. In 2008, researchers found ancient air pockets within the crystals containing unidentified microorganisms, some still viable despite being isolated under extreme conditions for tens of thousands of years. The entire cave system has since flooded after mining operations ceased and the water pumping infrastructure was shut down, halting all further exploration indefinitely. There has been controversy over unpublished biological and archaeological findings, despite multiple international teams accessing the site between 2006 and 2015. Today, Nika Crystal Cave remains a sealed underground zone, harboring environmental conditions that cannot yet be artificially replicated. Aokigahara Forest lies on ancient lava fields with uneven ground, thick roots, and dense vegetation that blocks phone signals and GPS. Some main trails are monitored with warning signs, but most of the forest lacks full surveillance, making people easily lose their way. The loss of navigation is believed to be caused by volcanic rock, disrupting the magnetic field and confusing compasses and GPS devices. Several studies have looked at the closed ecosystem here, but data is still lacking on how microclimate affects wildlife and human behavior. This area became widely known due to past incidents linked to mental health issues, attracting international media attention and public debate. Some argue that using negative images of the forest in the media may have harmful effects and increase pressure on local communities, especially as more curious visitors enter without guides or navigation tools. The Amazon rainforest is not only the largest ecosystem on Earth, but also a vast region filled with data voids concerning undiscovered species, archaeological sites, and unexplored geological systems. Certain deep forest sectors contain geometric formations like lines, circles, and canal grids, completely hidden beneath the canopy and only revealed through satellite imagery since 2009. A 2010 archaeological report cited over 60 large-scale ancient settlements with city-like layouts, none of which have been fully excavated due to environmental and preservation restrictions. Some research teams have encountered electromagnetic interference while using ground-penetrating radar, raising questions about highly conductive sediment layers or large buried metallic objects. Although it serves as a global biodiversity hub, the Amazon remains a space layered with unresolved information and hidden structures. Daintree rainforest is isolated in northeastern Australia, located between mountains and the ocean, forming a unique biological transition zone. This area was formed during the time of the dinosaurs and is one of the oldest surviving ecosystems on Earth, with plant species dating back hundreds of millions of years. Access to the forest is restricted due to its dense terrain and strict control by conservation organizations to preserve its pristine condition. Many parts of the forest have never been fully surveyed, creating significant gaps in current biological data. This, combined with its long-term isolation and lack of human interference, has made Daintree a subject of debate regarding its biological independence and origin. Białowieża is one of the last remaining primeval forests in Europe, located along the border between Poland and Belarus, and it has remained mostly intact since the post-glacial period. The forest was formed thousands of years ago and is a remnant of a vast ecosystem that once covered much of the European continent. Access to this area is strictly controlled, with only selected research groups allowed deep inside to minimize human impact. Scientific data collected so far has not fully explained the biological relationships among the ancient species living in the forest. The continued existence of long-evolved species makes Białowieża a key focus area in studies of prehistoric ecosystems. Chingy de Bemaraha is unlike any other landform. Moving just a few feet here can require climbing gear due to its extreme, jagged terrain. The sharp limestone formations, shaped by millions of years of acid erosion, stand so close together that they resemble a natural fortress. Full-scale surveys are nearly impossible, as the fragmented structure prevents most modern research equipment from operating effectively. Access to the core zone is limited to specially licensed research teams accompanied by trained survival guides. Some creatures live in isolation within single crevices, entire species confined to just a few square feet, unseen elsewhere on Earth. Scientific data remains fragmented, and geobiologists still debate whether Tsingy qualifies as a cluster of distinct micro-ecosystems. Ho is one of the few temperate rainforests where natural biomass density has remained stable for centuries without artificial support. Constant atmospheric moisture has produced uninterrupted layers of vegetation, with sunlight unable to reach the ground in several sections. The forest is under strict regulatory control, and interior access is granted only for authorized scientific surveys through a detailed permit process. Despite extensive data collection programs, the decomposition process of organic matter near the forest floor remains insufficiently understood due to unusually stable microbial conditions. Ho's long-term biological continuity within a nearly closed-loop system continues to raise questions about the functional limits of ecosystems with no clear succession phase. Mount Roraima is entirely separated from the surrounding ecosystems, with its flat summit encircled by vertical rock walls that require non-standard methods of access and observation. The sedimentary layers found at the top belong to some of the oldest geological formations in South America. Yet no complete stratigraphic map has been produced with scientific consistency. Persistent moisture on the summit leads to the creation of fragmented surfaces, deep grooves, and isolated water basins that prevent the continuous collection of biological data. To date, the entire summit remains beyond the reach of integrated scientific frameworks, and most ecological hypotheses about this location have not progressed beyond preliminary field observations. Uluru exists within a geologically isolated zone, where its relationship to deep crustal fault systems in the interior remains entirely unverified. Surface-based studies, many of which date back to the previous century, have only documented exterior structures, while no drilling has ever accessed its bedrock, leaving the lower strata absent from all stratigraphic models. Magnetic field measurements and seismic echo mapping conducted along its periphery have recorded irregular signal disruptions, yet no fixed origin point has been established to explain the anomalies. At present, Uluru cannot be integrated into any existing geomorphological framework designed to categorize standalone formations across the continental interior. Mount Athos is located on a peninsula projecting into the northern Aegean Sea, where modern scientific access is heavily restricted, and most of the area remains beyond the reach of independent research teams. Although the mountain's surface features have been broadly outlined, its geological core has never been examined using deep penetration instruments or full-spectrum seismic modeling. At certain coastal points, magnetic irregularities were recorded during non-regular survey intervals, yet no analytical system has reproduced those results under repeatable conditions. Subtle fluctuations in air moisture, base rock thermal conductivity, and atmospheric pressure variance at the summit have been mentioned in unofficial observation reports but are absent from all standardized data sets. The area surrounding Mount Athos operates under a unique administrative structure with autonomous control, which has prevented large-scale deployment of modern sensing technologies. This persistent lack of data regarding both subsurface composition and physical response has excluded Mount Athos from most geophysical classification systems currently used in Europe. Lake Natron contains extremely high levels of alkalinity, with mineral concentration and surface temperature often going beyond the operating limits of most field instruments, making the data collected too unstable for long-term analysis. During several deployments, sensors failed within hours of contact with the water, resulting in gaps or unusable segments in most data sets. Some types of single-celled organisms have been confirmed to live in the lake, but no full observation has yet replicated their life cycle in a controlled environment. Along the lake's edge, animal remains show rapid mineral buildup, though the exact rate of reaction and physical process behind the surface coating is still unknown. The lake bed has never been fully surveyed because the high level of chemical corrosion damages all probing equipment before enough data can be recorded. The chemical composition of the lake keeps changing in real time, and all current theories about its long-term stability remain unconfirmed. Lake Baikal is considered one of the oldest and deepest lakes on Earth, but most of its subfloor structure remains unsurveyed because current equipment cannot withstand the pressure and depth. Efforts to explore the bottom layers have been scattered and incomplete, and no unified map of tectonic stratification or fault zones has been produced. Magnetic anomalies have been recorded during independent measurements, but their irregular recurrence prevents confirmation of any specific source mechanism. Although the lake is a key sampling site for microbial and climate research, collected data is often interrupted by uneven water stratification across different depths. Fixed sensors in the area have detected prolonged physical fluctuations lasting several hours, but attempts to identify the source failed due to incomplete background data. The deep basin of Lake Baikal remains a major geophysical blind zone, where neither hydrodynamic modeling nor tectonic structure has been consistently defined. A large part of Manu has never been recorded by any modern surveying system, because the vegetation is so dense that even satellite signals cannot fully penetrate. This region lies on an ancient geological belt, shaped by structural shifts millions of years ago, yet a reliable foundational map has still not been established. Access is governed by strict preservation standards, and no imaging or sampling device is allowed to operate continuously without direct supervision and special authorization. Researchers can only work in short cycles, which causes serious gaps in biological data, especially in zones where isolated ecosystems may exist. In some parts, species density reaches levels that current models cannot explain, but no artificial setup has managed to replicate the mechanisms of biomass control or symbiosis. The presence of undocumented biological rules, combined with fragmented data, has made Manu a focal point in debates over the boundary between preservation and exploration. Corcovado lies along the ocean-continent boundary, where the rainforest terrain is divided by steep slopes, uneven canopy layers, and unstable water systems that block traditional surveying. Soil layers shift due to saltwater intrusion and underlying tectonic activity, but no geological model currently explains the surface biosphere's formation. Each expedition is tightly limited in both equipment and duration, and no zone has ever been approved for long-term automatic monitoring. Some forest regions show irregular stratification, yet all attempts to measure canopy height using spatial scanning have failed due to extreme humidity and signal interference. Data on soil microorganisms and their role in the organic decomposition cycle remain fragmented, preventing the creation of a closed nutrient flow model. The absence of a verified 3D forest map and a functioning biological energy balance framework makes Corcovado a site that science has yet to fully decode. Danakil is a tectonic depression in an active rift zone, where the surface is covered by brittle, crystallized salt, interspersed with hypersaline springs and highly corrosive acid lakes. The landscape formed over millions of years as tectonic plates pulled apart, but no surveys have reached the deep stratigraphy due to unsafe heat and chemical conditions. Research activities are strictly limited, and most survey teams operate under short schedules using heat-resistant tools without permission to install fixed monitoring stations. At hydrothermal sites, sensors usually fail within hours, causing data loss in pressure, pH, and mineral composition tracking. Some microbial strains have been isolated here, but cannot be cultured in lab settings, leaving their biological adaptations unresolved. Danakil still lacks a complete geochemical or biological model due to unstable data and inaccessible subsurface structures. Atacama is an extremely dry region located between two major mountain ranges, where combined effects of rain, shadow, and a cold ocean current result in almost zero average rainfall over long periods. Its surface consists of crystallized salts, silicate rocks, and wind-borne mineral dust, producing soil with very low conductivity and no moisture retention. Some areas show no surface life, but deep drilling has revealed ancient microorganisms with unique genetic structures that cannot be replicated in lab conditions. Biological sensors frequently fail under intense solar radiation and daily temperature fluctuations that reach dozens of degrees. Certain zones reflect infrared light so strongly that remote sensing data becomes unstable even after multiple calibration filters. Attempts to recreate Atacama's environmental conditions in sealed chambers have not succeeded in replicating its combination of ultraviolet exposure, ultra-dry air, and gas-trapping soil. As a result, the survival mechanisms of microorganisms here remain scientifically unconfirmed. Namib sits on an ancient geological margin along Africa's west coast, where hyper-arid conditions have persisted for millennia because of a cold ocean current and natural separation from major river systems. Beneath the asymmetric red dunes lies soil with extremely low thermal and electrical conductivity that disrupts deep sensors and biological probes. Surface layers of highly reflective gravel and naturally baked clay create microclimates with large temperature swings, forcing constant recalibration of field measurements. Many sectors can only be observed from the air because fractured ground and salt-laden winds damage optical instruments. Microorganisms are thought to draw moisture from coastal fog, yet ion exchange rates and energy cycles remain unmeasured because soil samples destabilize outside native conditions. The laboratory model has successfully recreated the active soil layer of Namib, so biological and geophysical data sets remain too unstable for comprehensive synthesis. The Gobi Desert stretches harshly across Mongolia, where geology, climate, and paleontological history combine to create a land of challenge and mystery. Its landscape was formed by ancient tectonic activity and severe climate shifts that transformed the area into a dry desert that still exists today. Despite its vast size, many parts of Gobi remain unexplored due to the lack of infrastructure and extremely harsh natural conditions. Scientists have discovered well-preserved dinosaur fossils here, marking a major turning point for paleontological research in Asia. However, some rock structures in the area have strange shapes that do not match existing weathering theories, leaving researchers without a clear explanation. These gaps in geological data and unresolved past events have made Gobi a controversial subject in global scientific research. Salar de Uyuni is so flat that satellite systems have used it to calibrate orbital sensors. It was formed by the evaporation of a massive ancient lake system, leaving behind a dense white salt crust stretching for thousands of square miles. During the rainy season, it turns into a perfect reflective surface that distorts vision and creates disorientation across long distances. Some areas beneath the thick salt layer remain unsurveyed, especially underground water pockets that may contain unclassified biological systems. Access to the central zone is often restricted during flooding due to surface instability and navigation errors. Its near-perfect flatness has caused scientific debate, as elevation data from this area has conflicted with conventional Earth curvature models. These features make Salar de Uyuni a place of both active study and lingering skepticism. The Galapagos Islands are isolated in the Pacific Ocean, located about 620 miles from the mainland, and were formed by volcanic eruptions from the ocean floor over millions of years. The island's surfaces are made of lava and porous rock, creating dry, low-nutrient environments that support many unique species not found elsewhere. The entire region is under strict regulation, with visitors required to follow approved itineraries and be accompanied by licensed guides. Several species, especially microorganisms and deep-water organisms, remain incompletely described. The surrounding reefs have complex terrain that shifts with seasonal currents, leaving many zones unmapped by standard instruments. Some food chains in this area do not follow normal ecological patterns, which has created ongoing debate about classical ecosystem models. Komodo National Park occupies more than 700 square miles of isolated volcanic islands in eastern Indonesia, positioned along the active boundary of two continental plates. Seafloor uplift over 1 million years ago produced steep terrain, mixed limestone, and metal-rich magma, and underground caves that remain only partly mapped. Park rules require advance permits, certified guides, and capacity limits for each landing site to minimize biological disturbance. Komodo dragons grow up to 10 feet and sit at the top of the food chain, yet their evolutionary history is disputed because transitional fossils are lacking, and their genome shows unexpected reptile lineages. Deep surrounding reefs with 2 vertical layers are still unsurveyed, while microbes from limestone caves display enzyme variants not recorded elsewhere. Ongoing tectonic activity, incomplete biological data, and rising tourism pressure keep Komodo at the center of debate between strict conservation and sustainable development. Plain of Jars is one of the most mysterious archaeological sites in Southeast Asia, where thousands of massive stone jars are scattered across open fields with no clear understanding of who created them or for what purpose. Each jar weighs several tons and is carved from solid stone, yet many are located far from any known quarry, raising questions about how they were transported and what tools were used. Some jars have lithological compositions that do not match local geology, suggesting they may have been moved from unknown sources using unrecorded techniques. Traces of biological remains and burn materials have been found beneath certain jars, but researchers have not agreed on whether they served funerary or storage functions. The Lao government and international bodies have designated protected zones, turning the site into an archaeological labyrinth still without definitive answers. Bear Island is a desolate landmass in the Arctic Ocean with almost no human presence, where extreme climate conditions allow only limited seasonal access. Though small in size, the island frequently appears in meteorological and geomagnetic research due to irregular patterns in air pressure, magnetic fields, and radio frequencies. Survey instruments have been disabled or returned distorted data from the island's central zones, forcing teams to retreat without clear explanations. Some coastal caves were partially explored but could not be fully accessed due to unstable ground affected by shifting underground flows. The combination of harsh natural conditions, unresolved geophysical anomalies, and legal restrictions has made Bear Island one of the least investigated Arctic territories. Pumapunku stands on a wind-swept plateau of the Andes, isolated from any populated route and surrounded by bare open land, making every journey there feel remote and harsh. Some andesite blocks here weigh up to about 31,000 pounds, and were shaped with such precision that the joints are tighter than the width of a thin blade, with deviations under 0.4 inch. Carbon-14 dating in 2023 confirmed that this massive complex was completed within just a few generations, contradicting earlier beliefs that it took centuries. Although now under strict UNESCO protection, only about 5 acres have been excavated so far, with most of the site still buried under weathered debris. Field access is heavily restricted. Visitors are kept at a distance, and researchers are granted excavation permits for only a few weeks per year. Unresolved questions about how the stones were transported, what tools were used, and why no construction records exist have made Pumapunku one of the most debated archaeological sites in South America. Gomantong Caves are located deep in a humid rainforest, where cave entrances are often slippery and affected by seasonal water, making modern access difficult. The cave system was formed over millions of years through limestone dissolution, creating chambers with volumes of tens of thousands of cubic feet. It has long been home to millions of bats and cockroaches and serves as a site for traditional bird nest harvesting, carried out only during fixed periods by licensed groups. The entire area is strictly controlled by conservation authorities, and tourists must follow fixed wooden paths without entering unopened branches. Although some biological surveys have documented new species, most of the deeper cave zones remain unmapped due to poor lighting and high humidity. Some unverified sightings of unidentified animals have led to theories about an isolated cave ecosystem that is not yet fully studied. The Paris catacombs are located beneath the urban area, with tunnels stretching about 190 miles at an average depth of over 65 feet, completely separated from surface-level spaces. The system started as a limestone quarry and was later converted into an ossuary in the late 18th century when surface cemeteries reached capacity. Many chambers were reinforced, reorganized, and filled with millions of skeletal remains over a period of several decades. The section open to the public is about 1 mile long, while most of the tunnels remain sealed and monitored by underground infrastructure units. Current maps only show the main visitor route and do not include side passages or lower levels due to survey limitations. Certain areas include signs of groups, unexplained symbols, and unlisted corridors, which continue to raise questions about access limits and the site's documentation status. Panga Fort is set deep in a semi-desert region, surrounded by low rocky slopes and cracked dry ground, with no signs of modern settlement or ongoing activity. The fort was built in the late 16th century as a strategic checkpoint, but the entire settlement was abandoned within about 100 years, with no official records explaining the reason. Visitors are allowed only during daylight hours and are strictly banned after sunset under orders from the Archaeological Authority, with security stationed at the main stone entrances. Structures such as storage halls, temples, and old wells remain buried under rubble and have not been excavated due to unstable foundations. The nighttime restriction was issued without technical explanation, which has led to various unverified theories, including suggestions of magnetic anomalies and unstable subsoil patterns. Hidden in the calm waters of an inland sea, Okunoshima disappeared from maps for years, not just because of its isolation, but due to a wartime secret buried deep. Starting in 1929, the Japanese government turned this small island into a mustard gas production site, disguised as a power plant, to mislead both the world and its own citizens. Every operation was encrypted or destroyed. Maps were altered, workers were sworn to secrecy, and almost no safety documents survived. This long-standing silence, paired with a seemingly peaceful landscape, leaves Okunoshima not just forgotten, but suspended in a chapter of history that was never closed. Rennes-le-Château is located on a remote hilltop in southern France, accessible only by narrow and steep roads that isolate it from modern cities. The village gained sudden attention when priest Bérenger Saunière became wealthy in the late 1800s after restoring a church, without any clear explanation for his source of funds. His lavish spending on private libraries and large construction projects led many to suspect he discovered a historical treasure or hidden secret linked to the church. Although the site remains open to tourists, many nearby archaeological zones are blocked or restricted by heritage protection authorities. To this day, no official document has confirmed the origin of Saunière's wealth, and many related records are still sealed or never released. The lack of clear evidence and the limited access to original sources have kept this place at the center of controversy for more than a century. Lake Abraham is located in a remote mountainous area of Western Canada, surrounded by limestone terrain and forests that limit access and depend heavily on weather. The lake was man-made in 1972 for hydroelectric purposes, but what makes it notable is a rare winter phenomenon where thousands of methane bubbles get trapped under clear ice, forming vertical white stacks. This methane comes from the decomposition of organic matter at the lake bottom, but cannot escape because the surface freezes quickly in low temperatures. The effect only appears during deep winter, making it difficult for scientists to collect gas samples or take accurate measurements due to harsh conditions and short observation windows. Although there is no official restriction on access, walking on the ice carries high risk and must follow strict safety rules. The presence of methane, a strong greenhouse gas, combined with the lake's unusual appearance, has made Lake Abraham a topic of environmental science debate. Singui Rouge is located in a dry region of northern Madagascar with no major roads leading directly to it, and access requires traveling over dirt roads and continuing on foot. The red stone pillars formed through rainwater erosion of clay and laterite, creating dense, upright structures rising from the ground. This process shifts seasonally, changing the shape and number of pillars in short periods of time. The area is open only during dry seasons and closed entirely during times of flood or landslide risk. Erosion rates have not been fully recorded due to limited equipment and the difficulty of maintaining long-term field studies. Precise geological data is still lacking while the surface structure changes visibly from year to year, attracting both researchers and visitors. Rainbow Mountains is located in a semi-desert region in northwestern China, where the dry climate and low rainfall make the area clearly isolated from cities and major roads. The mountain range stands out for its visible layers of color, formed by the buildup of sandstone and mineral deposits over millions of years. Each color layer comes from a different type of mineral, but no detailed study has yet explained how stable the colors are or how fast the surface changes over time. Visitors can only enter through fixed walking paths with barriers, and leaving the designated route is strictly forbidden to protect the terrain. Some theories have questioned whether part of the color has been altered due to maintenance or tourism purposes, but no official scientific proof has confirmed this. The lack of geological data, combined with the mountain's visual impact, has made it a place of interest and debate among both tourists and researchers. Valle de la Luna is located in the driest region of northern Chile, where humidity is nearly absent, and the natural terrain cannot support long-term life. The rock layers formed from clay, salt, and sandstone have been shaped by constant wind and extreme temperature changes over millions of years, creating cracks, fractured surfaces, and unstable landforms. Some areas respond clearly to light shifts throughout the day, but no permanent equipment has been installed to measure or analyze this effect in detail. Visitor access is fully restricted to fixed paths, and all movement must follow strict rules to avoid damaging the thin and fragile surface layers. Previous research efforts focused only on surface observation, and no complete mineral data has been produced to explain how each geological layer formed. All these factors together have made Valle de la Luna a monitored site that still leaves many basic scientific questions unanswered. Socorro is a remote volcanic island in the Pacific Ocean, known as the Galapagos of Mexico, yet much of its terrain remains unmapped due to erratic oceanic conditions and strict naval control. Although once home to a weather station and observation post, multiple instruments have reported magnetic interference and repeated signal losses, coinciding with unexplained seismic activity. Certain basalt formations on the island display symmetrical, angular features resembling artificial structures, but international geological teams have been denied access to these zones since 2004. In 1991, an oceanographic team reported observing gas plumes rising from the seabed near Socorro, but their data was later classified for territorial security reasons. Surrounding waters have an unusually high incidence of unidentified underwater acoustic signals, fueling theories about anomalous geophysical phenomena. To this day, scientific missions to Socorro are heavily restricted and conducted only under direct supervision by Mexico's defense authorities. Devil's Kettle is a partially unexplained hydrological phenomenon where a river splits into two, one half flows normally, while the other disappears into a deep rock hole with no identifiable outflow. Experiments involving dye, plastic balls, and GPS trackers have failed to determine where the diverted water ends up, fueling theories of an unknown underground system or a sealed granite pocket. Some independent researchers believe that microseismic activity or fractured stratified rock layers may have created a closed chamber with no surface exit. The area surrounding Devil's Kettle is now restricted to prevent unauthorized exploration and ensure public safety. A river vanishing into stone without clear evidence of its return continues to make this site one of North America's rare land-based geographic mysteries. The Okavango is one of the world's few inland deltas where river water disappears into the Kalahari Desert instead of reaching the ocean, forming an ecosystem governed by unusual flood cycles. Its peak flooding occurs during the dry season, rather than the rainy season, disrupting standard hydrological models and forecast systems. Hydrographic surveys have recorded spontaneous side channels forming in central zones, lasting only days and lacking identifiable sources. The core zone supports both wetland and desert-adapted species, leading to speculation about undiscovered underground reservoirs or transient water bodies. To this day, Okavango's unstable hydrology keeps it excluded from many regional climate forecasting systems. Fly Geyser is a man-made geothermal anomaly that formed unintentionally during a failed drilling project in the 1960s. Yet what followed turned it into one of the most unusual geological features in the United States. Instead of being sealed, the mineral-rich hot water continued to erupt uncontrollably, building up layers of travertine terraces that shift form and color due to thermophilic microorganisms. One of its strangest traits is the geyser's constantly changing surface structure, a phenomenon rarely seen in similar geothermal systems. Some studies have identified extremophile archaea, typically found only in volcanic vents or deep-sea environments. Fly geyser remains a rare example of uncontrolled interaction between human activity and natural geothermal forces. Wulingyuan is known for its more than 3,000 towering sandstone pillars, yet much of its geological structure remains unmapped due to vertical terrain and complex stratification. Many of the pillars exhibit unnaturally smooth surfaces and geometric anomalies, unlike surrounding sandstone areas, prompting theories about uneven erosion or undocumented atmospheric influences. In a 2006 survey, laser instruments failed to register mid-column surfaces accurately, corrupting 3D mapping data and forcing the abandonment of spatial modeling efforts. Some formations are fully isolated from mainland cliffs, connected by natural stone bridges or subterranean passages, yet remain unverified due to rockfall risks and unpredictable weather. Although recognized as a UNESCO site, Wulingyuan continues to be one of China's most topographically incomplete regions. Caño Cristales is often called the River of Five Colors due to its dramatic shifts in hue from red and yellow to green, blue, and purple, though these changes occur unpredictably rather than following a fixed seasonal cycle. While the aquatic plant Macarinia clavigera is considered the main factor, field research has shown that mineral content, water velocity, and sunlight angle all contribute to its unstable coloration. The core area of Caño Cristales was restricted for years, allegedly due to classified military activity in the nearby Sierra de la Macarena Mountains, an issue never formally confirmed but mentioned in Cold War-era intelligence references. The riverbed contains limestone spirals with abrupt depth changes that have not been fully mapped by sonar due to erratic currents. Despite its reputation as a biological wonder, most of the river's signature features remain unreproducible in controlled settings. The Avenue of the Baobabs is a striking strip lined with dozens of massive baobab trees reaching up to 100 feet tall, standing in symmetrical rows across an otherwise open landscape with no signs of surrounding forest. The root structure and growth rhythms of these trees differ markedly from other baobab populations in Madagascar, prompting theories of prehistoric human intervention or long-lost cultivation methods. Growth ring analysis indicates that some trees are over 1,000 years old, yet several exhibit genetic deviations that do not align with the local species. Though considered a national symbol and tourist destination, parts of the surrounding area have been sealed off to prevent unauthorized study and resource extraction. Salar de Tara sits on a volcanic plateau in northern Chile at an elevation above 1,100 feet, with no services or phone signal, and can only be reached by high-clearance vehicles driven by experienced operators, while sudden cold winds and sandstorms are common. Its flat salt surface formed when a large ancient lake evaporated over thousands of years, leaving layers of halite mixed with clay minerals and silica inside a ring of volcanic peaks. Dozens of upright basalt columns with unusual shapes rise from the plain and are explained as the combined effect of severe daytime thermal weathering and dry winds gradually eroding natural fractures. The presence of these odd stone pillars together with restricted deep studies leaves hypotheses about hidden geothermal flows or special mineralization unverified, sustaining scientific debate and an aura of mystery for explorers.